What's up, y'all? LTJ Regis here. This is Throwing Light, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Before we get started, I'll remind you guys, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can find all the Throwing Light interviews here. Plus, the Throwing Light tour, we have now San Francisco's up. You got 23 clips from that panel that's up. I'm trying to share these as best as I can, but I would love for you people to go check over there and start sharing these things. You're watching, seeing what's going on. The Throwing Light tour is going to be 2026 and 2027. You will eventually find out, the whole tour, even though I've already done two cities and technically some crossovers, but keep watching for that. I have a lot of other cool personal projects that I'm working on that I can't wait to introduce people. So just please follow me. Keep an open mind. Remember that's going on. With that being said, let's go ahead and kick it over to our guest. We have got Dat Ashe here, your Mr. Texas Leather 2025. I was at Austin Key Weekend where I was able to watch your step down. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Been doing a lot of prep for IML and everything, so yeah, it's been a lot, but it's still doing pretty well.
Good. We'll get into IML a little bit later. Let's get people acquainted with you. I had the honor of actually meeting Ashe at Naked People Reading in San Antonio at Surratt. Thank you for participating in that and showing up and giving that visibility. I had no idea that you had ambitions to want to be Mr. Texas Leather, so I was really, really surprised when I heard you were running and then you won. So, I mean, before we get into that, how did you get to where you are today? When did it all start? When did you get involved?
Gosh, where do I even start? Do you want me to start from like my first leather, or do you want me to start from like whenever I first like entered into the kink fetish and leather community as a whole?
Let's talk about what made you want to get involved. So, your entrance.
Okay. So for me joining the leather scene specifically, I had already been involved in the kink scene for a little while by this point. Um, I always kind of knew that I felt a connection with leather. I had my first leather item courtesy of my mom. My mom actually had this beautiful mahogany leather jacket, and I had been introduced to the leather community courtesy of actually one of my friends in the cosplay scene because she does a lot of leather working. And so I was very curious about it. I'm like, ooh. And found a couple of events in my local area, and yeah, spiraled in from there.
So, when was your first experience with just leather itself? When were you first introduced to that or exposed to that?
Like the scene or
Like
like garments. Pardon?
garments.
Like I said, my very first experience was feeling like the connection with the mahogany jacket that I had. But the first one where it like kind of really clicked fully because I didn't really understand, of course, because I was a kid at the time. I want to say it was around 2015. I got gifted actually two pairs of military leather boots. They were knee high. The friend at the time, like his shins were a little bit too wide, so he was like, "Hey, I think these will fit you." And I put them on, and the sense of power that I felt wearing those, like I fell in love immediately.
Yeah, I have now kind of like a dual question, and it's kind of like challenges for you, being trans in the community. Would have been some triumphs for you, or some moments in the community, or where being yourself has somehow inspired others, or benefited you, or led to an opportunity that helped further your growth as a person.
Is this before the like
At any
me
point,
getting sashed or
I would
after?
say any point, even before you were Sash.
Personal triumphs, honestly, I had always been nervous about going to a leather, like a full leather group. My first, like I had kind of been in a few munches. I work with Shrine Austin a lot, so I'd already kind of had some exposure with being in group settings, although those were also still very much there were still a lot of trans people. Um, when I finally started looking into joining like a leather group or anything like that, it was the San Antonio Leatherman. And when I was looking at the Instagram and everything, I didn't really see anyone who really looked like me, so I was a little bit nervous. I actually chickened out the first time. I was planning on going to their roller skating night and chickened out at the last minute because I was nervous. Because I was like, well, what if like there's pushback? Well, like because at the time I didn't know like how inclusive they were going to be, like if I would be welcome. And so I was nervous. And then it wasn't until a month later that they had their ice cream night that I went to it and immediately got welcomed with open arms. The heads of the San Antonio Leatherman at the time literally greeted me at the door. They were like, "Hi, you're new here. Like, welcome to the San Antonio Leatherman." Like, kind of gave me the rundown, and I just immediately was like, "I feel so welcome here."
Good, good. That's what I want to hear. So, how long were you in the San Antonio Leatherman?
I joined them around I want to say it was either July or August 2024.
Okay, okay. So let's start kind of getting into, now you decided to, when did you decide that you wanted to run for Mr. Texas Leather? Like, what was the moment or the realization?
Well, Master Cat with the San Antonio Leatherman had done a essentially a class. I'm not sure whether to call it a class or a workshop. Master Cat had essentially done a class about titles and kind of like what they are, the meaning. Like I already knew a general idea, but he broke it down. There was this entire, I want to say it was a laminated sheet, like going into in depth about like what it means, what to expect. You should not run if, or you should run if, so on and so forth. And that's what got me curious. So I was looking into the Austin Kink Weekend since a lot of the San Antonio Leathermen were talking about that one. But the one that really sparked it was a certain camp uh, that was being not very trans friendly, shall we say, and that in addition to everything else that was going on with the new administration, just there was a lot of anger, and I had a lot I wanted to say. So that's what really sparked it, and I started looking into the application and everything.
So, what was your speech about when you ran?
My speech was essentially talking about how, with how the U.S. was during the time, like a lot of trans people were already starting to kind of end up sequestering ourselves in little enclaves to try and protect ourselves, and thus essentially things like escapism, trying to go to the groups that we are comfortable with and familiar with, and with certain kink spaces not being trans friendly and being more overt about it. I wanted to address that about the fact of we're already feeling unsafe out there in the world. Why is it that our safe spaces are suddenly unsafe?
Yeah, yeah. And so, what is a safe space to you? For you as a trans person, what makes a space safe?
Bare minimum, I want to see people who look like me. I want to see people who look like my friends. Like if I'm in a space where I see like exclusively like white cisgender gay men, I immediately feel out of place because like I'm not cis. I also like I've been on testosterone for Lord, when did I start? 2022, so it'll be 4 years this year. But even then, it's a my transition. I didn't get the facial hair, unfortunately. That's like barely there, but it's like the teenage facial hair that you get essentially.
Yeah.
Uh, but like I know I don't pass, so to speak. So it's a I want to be able to feel comfortable. I want to be able to bring my friends into the space and make sure that they feel comfortable because a lot of them are similar in that aspect where they don't really see themselves in a lot of spaces.
So you don't think that you can pass? Why is that?
I This part gets complicated because it's a passing isn't everything, obviously. But one thing that gets really frustrating is a lot of people think that I'm non-binary, and a lot of people also look at my spouse who is non-binary and think they are cis female. And so I rarely ever right off the bat actually get called he him. um, Even at Austin King Week, and a lot of times I will get they them. It's kind of an eye roll at this point, but it's a like a lot of people just assume I'm non-binary because I don't fit into what they view as what is traditionally masculine Leatherman, essentially.
Do you correct people?
I do, but when they still keep using they them, it's a if they're not going to listen, why keep pushing? I guess if it's a like, it doesn't necessarily bother me. Like I said, it's more of an eye roll at this point, but it's I just kind of generally distance myself a little bit, mostly to protect my own peace. But the people who know me, like they respect the he him and everything, and those are the people that I try to keep in my inner circle.
Well, you have got to want to give respect. That has to be like a desire in people, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think a lot, I'm not gonna say a lot, just people don't understand what respect is sometimes and how you show that and the diversity of the respect, the many forms of respect that you can show people. And people just don't, they're just not programmed a lot of times to be out of the box thinkers and even how they respect people because everyone's different. The way that you think I should respect you might be different from how I might actually be treating you, and so I have to learn that. I have to learn how you channel respect, and I need to match you at that. It's just really a common. It should, obviously we're living in times where people want to be horrible and stuff like that, but it's not really that. To me, it's crazy that we can get tripped up with just wanting to use the brain in a creative way to identify ourselves, even with pronouns. I really don't understand why that has to be such a blow the world up when there's actually war going on and things like that. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Like the priorities are just insane. Like let people grow, change, explore, figure out how humanity is supposed to be at its fullest. But we're not, it's so advantageous for so many people in power to make our brains limited and obviously try to make things like binary. It's like there are literally physical things that disprove that gender is a binary thing in nature. It's a very complicated thing. It's literally in nature. And it happens to human beings too. Like we don't talk a lot about, being born with those, sex organs and things like that, but it happens. So it's our fault. It's not, well, it's not our fault. It's the fault of others that don't want to allow education to be. Because you want to know what is safe? Education. Education is a safe space. And if you don't have that, you're immediately in a hostile environment. Don't you agree?
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going to Mr. Texas. Now, I have no idea. This is a truthful question, but are you the first trans man as Mr. Texas Leather?
I am not. I am the second.
Okay, 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 okay. So your reign, you got Mr. Texas Leather. How has it been navigating that as a trans man?
Uh, it's been wonderful in a lot of ways. Like the people that I was able to reach out and talk to and everything, like those experiences mean the world to me, honestly. At the same time, it was very enlightening to see some of the people where it's a, as you were talking about respect earlier, uh, before I began my title reign, as you said, they didn't really care, I guess, so to speak. Like it was kind of just a, oh, that Ashe is here, okay, and kind of go about their business. But like they didn't really give me the time of day in a lot of instances. But then after I would appear with the sash, suddenly it's a, oh, they give you the respects. Suddenly it's a, oh, because you have the title, that means you must mean something kind of situation. It was very interesting seeing the polarity with that.
So, and let's have honest conversations here on Throne Light. So, but how does that? What do you think of that? The transition from going to being ignored to being paid attention to, but how does it feel? Or how many authentic relationships do you think that you built with your Sash this past year?
How do I even count that? There, it's so I went to a lot of non-leather spaces, and I myself and my spouse typically run like different classes and whatnot. But one of our classes is actually an introduction to kink culture specifically. Things like leather culture and the history behind leather and whatnot. And it's a lot of those people reached out to me afterwards and were talking about the fact of, hey, you gave me a leather awakening. I'm actually going to my first gathering with other leather folk, and I'm like, yay! And like I've kept in contact with a lot of them who they're thriving in their own environment, and it's wonderful to see. So I'd classify those as definitely on the authentic end. At the same time, another aspect, at least within the leather scene, I've gotten to meet so many other trans leather folk and everything. I've gotten to connect with leather folk from like all over the U.S. and even internationally, and like just slowly building a network of other trans folks and even those outside the binary, and them just sharing their histories and stories, and it's been wonderful.
What are you, you're preparing for IML now. What are you hoping to showcase at IML? It's less than a month away. It's less than, what is it? Yeah, it's less than a month away. It's coming. I'm
Yep.
excited for you. I'm excited for you to do this. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? What are you hoping to demonstrate on the stage when you get there?
I I had so many thoughts at once that it's kind of hard to pick it apart. Uh, I honestly just so whenever I first was looking into the title stuff as a context to this, I was actually trying to see about other trans title holders who competed. And the only people that I was really able to find were people like Tyler McCormick, Jack Thompson, the ones who won, essentially. Not about any of the other trans title holders were able to, I couldn't find anything on anyone else. And I think there was only one other person that I was able to find who wasn't a winner, and that was Mr. Ramrod 2022, I believe. Um, but I just want more visibility. I want for other people to not go through what I did, where it's a you start questioning about whether or not like the presence of trans people in title spaces, and I don't want them to feel discouraged. I want more of us. Like there needs to be more visibility, and I the especially because of the fact that I am a white trans man, I do have way more privilege than a lot of my friends. And so I want to see more people like my friends. I want to see black trans title holders. I want to see more people like Tyler McCormick, more disabled trans title holders. I want to see we are so much more than just one one specific demographic, and I want to see more. I want it to grow.
How do you think there's some ways that we can do that? How can we can inspire that growth?
Honestly, that's I would say on a case by case basis. Case in point, like Austin Kink Weekend this past year, we did not have anyone competing for the Ms. category, but we did have people competing for mix. Alternatively, there are like title competitions like all across the U.S. that are like different varying degrees of I guess expectations to some degree. Like if you go to Austin Kink Weekend, you're gonna mostly see a lot of men and everything. You're not gonna see a lot of femmes. Meanwhile, one I found recently, um, I love the fact that Mixed Rebel shared this with me. There is a trans specific title, actually. I believe it was in San Francisco, if I remember correctly. But like that's a space that is specifically for and encouraging trans people to come and compete. So I think that honestly, first step, if there is not like trans rep or even just like a little flag or something in your marketing, especially like how do we really know that that's going to be a space that we're welcome in? If
Yeah.
we're looking at photos of the event, do we see anyone that looks like us essentially?
You know, and that's just not on you or the trans community to like that is such a community effort to provide that visibility because as you can say and then because like and let's be honest there might not be as many trans people in positions of power in our community as there might be cis gay white men. So like change has to be a community effort. Like you can't and I don't to me I just feel like people don't understand. I keep saying this over and over again. Like I really think we're at this reinvent the wheel moment in our community where we have people talking about they want to see inclusion and all these things, but they still double down on like the same theme. Like, oh, we're not going to put women and trans people on the television because our business is mostly men. Okay, so like you don't think maybe starting to put it on the TV would increase that business? Oh well, we don't. There's no demand for women in leather. Well, you're not making anything. They don't. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like literally we have to get our people at the core to fundamentally change business in our community for us to actually reach inclusion. And I don't understand why we can't have that conversation. Like, we really have to start putting pressure on our business owners in our community to start creating that change as a commodity, as a product. Does that make sense?
I agree. I also feel like, especially from the attendee perspective, there also needs to be a change. Because when at AKW, I saw way more femmes this year than I did the previous year. But I also did hear a lot of cis men complaining. I literally heard a guy say, "There's too many broads here,"
No, yeah, I've
referring to the
heard.
Austin Eagle, and I'm like, "This is why women do not want to come here."
Yeah, no, you're absolutely. Look, I've had to confront that at that space, and that's just that we have this very unfortunately just look. I struggle with the gay man different demographic. I really do in terms of like the mainstream power that they have. And how what they think is normal and acceptable is the mainstream, and it's just not fair and they don't get it. They don't really get it. They don't get that white gay men are privileged too to an extent. I mean, you can pass, you can not go with the majority, you can be a lapdog. You know what I'm saying? You have a choice to do all those things. It's just different, and unfortunately, until somehow some the clouds open and the entire our nation, our world actually sees that there are more letters in the letter G. I don't know, but like it's always about the G, and it just is not. And people can get upset with me right now. This is throwing light, and I don't think that G is the best letter to be representing our community at all times. If you want me to be quite frank with you, like they're just better ideas and better cultures among the other letters that I would say that could benefit from having mainstream exposure. And it just it's like it's getting old. It's getting old to live in a system that's superficial like that, and that we can't be successful because we don't look or we don't have the certain body parts that are acceptable to men. Like this is it's just not it's not the way to live. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And so it's almost oppressing. We're being oppressed by our own people because
Agreed.
they reinforce that system that's oppressing us. All
Yeah.
right, Ash. So we're getting towards the end. I'm going to give you the question that I give everybody towards the end that's on here. Can you think of one aspect of our community that you think we are not shedding enough light on?
Well, like I was saying earlier about the like, and as you were saying about the, it's very centered around like cis gay men and everything. I feel like we all need to remind ourselves, and I like have to remind myself about this as well, that Pride started because trans women, lesbians, and other femmes went, this shit ain't right. We're throwing bricks. During the AIDS crisis, lesbians were the ones in hospitals helping gay men with maneuvering this newfound situation with a president who was practically the literal devil. We take women and femmes and non cis gay men for granted. And I really want that to change.
Me too. Trust me. I really do. And I have not been able to manifest a plan that is succeeding and me seeing, maybe it is changing. You know what, Ash, we might not see the impact that we're making sometimes. I want to believe that I am of the new guard, the new world, like that's really what I am. And I want to be that. I'm completely okay with that because I just don't like the word tradition. And I just feel like the word tradition creates problems. It creates a system of oppression and exclusion. And so if the old guard is based on traditions, that makes me cringe. And I get that they're there for structure of an old world, but we are in the new world now. And we have got to be creative with our identities. We cannot be rigid in our own, like we can't be our own undoing. It just can't do that. So I'm hoping that the world's energy change and shifts and that we're going through like a bump in the road, and maybe this will create kind of like a wake up call at some point. I don't know. But what I do know is that um the brain using the brain is not a bad thing, and it should never be you should never feel that wanting to understand, wanting to educate, wanting you to treat people right, learn about people is the wrong thing. Because that if anybody that tells you those are bad things, you need to get away from this person. You need to change your network. You need because no one should want to be trying to to influence you to hurt other people or to reject other people or to not get to know other people, to harm other people ever. There should never be anyone trying to get you to harm anybody. That's just unacceptable, you know? But
Exactly.
this is where we are and we're going to get through it. And luckily, we have representation from people like you, Ash, that are out here doing things in our community and making sure that we don't I want to end it with this. I was really sad, but I've been hitting my block and unfriend button a lot on Facebook because I see a lot of foolery. But this little and excuse me for my language, Rob, but this very privileged white twink that I've seen for decades now in my hometown decided that he wanted to post that he felt that QIA was a joke and that this should not be a part of our community and that they are not a part of us. And I'm just kind of like, where is this coming? And I'm like, first of all, it's coming from Lafayette, Louisiana, which is known for racism and bigotry and things like that. And it was like, and you get that weird gay conservative type, the ones that are racist, and that's really the main reason why they're gay, that they're Republican. That's what that is, right? So anything that doesn't fit a lapdog is not okay for them. Because as long as you're a lapdog, to the people, you're good. But the moment that you're trying to, because QIA are real identities. Just by you like taking them away doesn't mean that they don't exist. Those are real identities. Not everybody wants to have sex. That's why the A is there. That's why the A is there. That's an identity. Like people are born with different drives, different genes, different moods, and like obviously your sexuality is not going to be a fixed thing. Even as you're growing from child to adulthood, you're going to feel different things. And where you choose to want to land and where you feel you need to be, that's on you. But I don't approach life with no look. I could be 70 fucking 2 years old and I might just decide that I met the woman of my dreams and I'm going to go get, like, I am open to whatever my sexuality wants to do, who it wants to meet, all of that, or who I get to know, who I make friends with. Like, you can learn so much by just being open about who you are and how you feel about people. And Ash, we will get there. Okay. With that being said, thank you so much for being on Throwing Light tonight. I
Thank you
look
for having
forward
me.
to seeing you around and chatting more. There's one thing I need you to do before I let you go, okay? I'm going to count to three. And when I count to three, you're going to say, if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
Alrighty.
You ready?
Yep.
One, two, three.
If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
There we go. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. It's been another episode of Throwing Light. Thank you all so much. Subscribe to YouTube. We're out. Bye.